Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Merman Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel here today with an updated deck profile for you guys. This is my scrap deck profile. And for those of you guys who might not know, big shout outs to my boy Jamal Good for hooking me up with this deck. You remember my last profile, I said that the scrap card wasn't yet out yet, but here it is, Scrap Wyvern, guys. And since that time, actually, Johnny Nguyen, otherwise known as Asian Persuasion 2008, topped with a scrap deck in the most recent regional. And I took a look at the deck profile. It's actually really cool. He's a great player of this game, but the deck did have a couple of dangers and some Sky Striker stuff in there. And I know that there's still a ton of purists out there who really love just like, playing scraps and playing all these decks like they used to in the old days. So with the exception of the Link Monster, which is kind of a minimal requirement to have this deck be somewhat competitive in 2019, coming into 2020, I wanted to keep this deck as pure as I possibly could. And so this is the result of sort of the updated testing that I've been doing on it, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So guys, let's get started. First things first, we've got the best card in the deck, 3 copies of Scrap Golem. Scrap Golem is your main playmaker in the deck, and he is so important because he is a non-once per turn revival effect for any scrap monster in your graveyard as long as it's level 4 or lower. Not only that, but it can be special summoned to either player's field, which actually has some really cool synergy with some of the other cards in this deck. Golem is a card that you want to special summon. It's one of your main non-synchro monsters, and great working together with Scrap Factory. So it has to be in here at 3. You don't really want to draw Golem, but you also don't want to run out of Golems, and that's kind of, better than that. 3 Scrap Beast. Think about cutting this number down, but he is your main level 4 tuner monster, and one of the cards that actually triggers Scrap's great special ability of being able to add any scrap back to your hand if they are destroyed or / popped by a scrap monster effect. Scrap Beast is one of those cards. Really puts in the work in that respect. So I might bump him down to 2, possibly to 1, but I really do like him because he allows you to go into a very easy Scrap Twin Dragon. Next card we have is 3 copies of Scrap Chimera. Now, I love Chimera. I would bump him down to 2 like in the Asian Persuasion build, but Scrap Chimera is amazing because it's basically like your wolf bark of the deck. So you summon it to the field and then you can instantly revive any scrap monster. Basically like as long as it is a tuner monster from your graveyard, and then you do this guy and then into another one, and then you have a, usually with Scrap Beast or Scrap Orthros, level 7 synchro monster or, XYZ or whatever the heck. So really cool. Now, moving on, I think this is, Scrap Golem is the best card in the deck. This is definitely, right up there with it. Scrap Orthros, one of the most fantastic cards. And guys, with the new Master Rule, it just unlocks the power of this card so much. Because when it comes to the field, Scrap Orthros basically allows you to you must pop any other scrap monster you control. So you just, for instance, summon the beast, special the Orthros, and then you can add something back to your hand. And then Orthros itself, when it's popped, also has that same effective beast to add a scrap. So you can keep recycling your Orthroses back and forth. 2 is a perfect number. I think 3 would be a little bit overkill, but you always want to be searching for Orthros and utilizing it for your plays. It helps also trigger your Scrap Factory as well, so it's one of the key playmakers in your deck, and you absolutely have to have it. 2 Scrap Recycler. Now, this is a new addition from the last deck profile I did, thanks to Cyframe NG. Once again, for these cards, the funny thing about this is everyone's sort of looking for this for that Orcus Scrap combo thing, because it basically allows you, when it's summoned, to mill any machine monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then also shuffle back to any 2 level 4 Earth Machine type monsters from your graveyard into the deck and draw a card. But you're basically using it for its mill effect. It's also not once per turn. The funny thing is everyone's looking for this for Orthros, so you can do the Scrap Wyvern combo, and here I was looking for it for an actual scrap deck, and these things were $12 for a long time, so I really appreciate Cyframe NG being able to track these down for me. Basically, Scrap Recycler lets you have a 1 card, Scrap Twin plus Scrap Wyvern play and gain like an incredible amount of advantage in this deck. It's why Orcus players are running it. and why it's extremely important. You basically have some token generators. You mill those, special your Scrap Wyvern, and combo off from there. And it's even better if you've got a factory as well. Moving on. Now for the one-ups, guys. One copy of Scrap Shark. This is basically in here as a foolish effect. You can trigger this, get whatever you need to your graveyard, things that you can revive. And this destroys itself whenever a card effect is activated. So you activate this, activate Factory. Factory will destroy, this effect will destroy itself when Factory comes to the field. Factory specials a golem. Scrap Shark sends whatever you want to the graveyard, and then you get a Scrap Twin or a Scrap Wyvern right there. Extremely, extremely potent play, and something that I think highlights this card's ability. Next, one of my personal favorites, Scrap Searcher. Very much a combo extender in the vein of Level Eater, which is no longer around. Anytime a scrap monster is destroyed, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but its even better effect is when it comes to the field, destroys all non-scrap monsters. Golem actually works incredibly well with this card because what you basically do is you utilize Golem, and Golem's effect can allow you to revive Scrap Searcher to either side of the field. So you revive it to your own field for, you know, shenanigans, or you revive it to your opponent's board and have even more shenanigans popping, like whatever the heck they have out there. And since it pops everything else besides a scrap, you can special summon this and destroy their whole board, which is really, really cool, and was especially good back in the day when Raigekis and all that stuff wasn't really a thing. Next, guys, one copy of Scrap Worm. Now, a lot of people have taken Scrap Worm out of the deck. I like him because he is excellent synchro fodder, really, really good synchro fodder for some of your higher level synchro monsters, and in addition, he actually comes in incredibly handy for when you need to make some plays to like, you don't have any way to pop your scrap monsters. So you basically use him and you attack your opponent directly, and then he'll pop himself by his own effect. And when you pop himself by his own effect, that actually works out incredibly well in your favor, guys, because then he pops himself and can trigger your factories or trigger your Orthros or whatever the heck else you want to trigger. And he doesn't require any other cards, so kind of like Beast does, to do that. So that's Scrap Worm. Next, guys, one copy of Scrap Goblin. Basically battle protection. I used to have him at 3 in the deck, and then I bumped him down to 2, and then eventually down to 1, and I feel like that's where Scrap Goblin's sort of got to stay at this point. And very, very good card. Also works really well with the Scrap Golem because you can special this to your opponent's board if you don't want to beat over whatever they have. It's not destroyed by battle until the end of the battle phase, so if you assemble a big board of scrap monsters, special summon this to your opponent's board, and then just crash into this thing repeatedly, and you don't even have to worry about their stuff. So definitely Scrap Goblin must be in this deck. Now, guys, the last couple of cards I've got. This is the last scrap monster, Scrap Mind Reader. Pretty typical card. Not really, it's okay, like I'm, waffling back and forth with this card, but Scrap Mind Reader is great as sort of a main phase 2 special summon and extra synchro play, and also pops scrap stuff on your field. So good to get this to the graveyard early and pop your scraps if you don't have a way to do it. And then finally are your token generators. One copy of Rosenix and one copy of Olion. They're getting pretty hard to find, but I was glad that the deck that I got from Jamal included these two in there. Olion and Rosenix are both incredible cards because when this goes to the graveyard, you special a token, and this can be banished from your graveyard to special a token. And the best part about these is, particularly in Olion's case, that token can be attributed to grab a golem. And so the idea is that you grab this scrap recycler, you mill one of these two, get a token, and then that's an instant scrap wyvern for you to keep making crazy plays and things like that. So very, very cool, very, very amazing, and basically pushes your combos forward. So that's it for your monsters. Now moving on to these spells and traps. This deck would not be complete without a copy, 3 copies of Scrap Factory. You absolutely have this, and if you don't have it, you're gonna need it. If you have this, you pretty much have a good chance of winning, but if you don't have it, you're gonna lose 100%. And that's just how good this card is. Basically, you can gain 200 attack and defense for each of your scraps, which doesn't really matter, but its real effect is that when a face-up scrap monster you control is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, and that includes non-scrap card effects, except during the damage step, you can special summon a scrap monster from your deck. This is a great way to make your combo plays really work, and as I said, combos excellently well with Shark. Now, moving on to these guys. 3 Scrap Storm and 3 Scrap Yard. Starting off with Scrap Yard, search any tuner from your deck to your hand, non-once per turn. Pretty simple. If only it searched every single scrap. So this is basically the main way that you grab Orthros or Beast or whatever the heck you're missing. Usually Orthros is the only tuner that you want in your hand, but you don't often have it in your hand. So Scrap Storm is very, very important to sort of get that there, or Scrap Yard. And then Scrap Storm is kind of like your Gemini Spark. And for those who don't know, heroes are going to be coming back a little bit, but Gemini Spark was like, you pop it and then you draw 1 or something like that. This is kind of the same way. You pop your face-up scrap monster and then send a scrap from your deck to your graveyard and then draw a card. And the coolest part about this card is that if you got like a scrap beast or something on the field, you activate Scrap Storm. You haven't normal summoned or something yet. You activate Scrap Storm, pop your beast, send a Chimera to the graveyard, draw a card. Beast effect, when it's popped, will allow you to add that Chimera back to your hand. Then you can normal summon that Chimera and grab your beast. There's a lot of really, really cool cards, and you can also chain these on top of each other. So for instance, if Orthros is going to pop a card anyway, you can just chain 2 Scrap Storms, send 2 scraps to the graveyard to pop the scrap before Orthros, sort of gets to it. Doesn't really matter. The target's all the same. Mill 2 to the graveyard, draw 2 cards from your deck. Really, really good, and speeds up the deck quite a lot. I've seen a lot of players like bump it to 2, 1, or even 0. I think this card cannot be in here at any less than 3. Mind Control. Scrap Wyvern is a thing. Pretty self-explanatory. Just steal your opponent's monster and use it as a material for your Scrap Wyvern to get more benefits. Next is 3 copies of Instant Fusion for some surprise combos I'm going to show you guys a little bit later. These are really, really good. And then we've got a Monster Gate and a Reasoning. Help you, since all your scraps are a lot of different levels and it's cool to kind of get them out of your deck. I really, really like those cards. They're just kind of in here as a fun thing for the pure variant. And then finally we've got Foolish Burial, self-explanatory, Terraforming, and Metaverse. Now guys, we are going to be moving on to the extra deck. And, as you guys know, this is going to be an extra deck that sort of focuses on scraps post the Link era. And so I'm very, very excited to show you guys some of the things that I sort of have planned for that post-Link era scraps situation here. I'm going to just find something really quickly here. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Now, moving into the extra deck. We're going to start this thing out here with 3 copies of Scrap Wyvern. This is the brand new card that was supposed to come out for the scraps and is absolutely the thing that takes it to the next generation. Especially now, without a Master Rule, this is going to be your coolest card that you've got here. Now, Scrap Wyvern's got 2 abilities, and the best thing is it requires 2 monsters, including a scrap monster, which means you can use any monster in this deck and then anything else, totally fine to use, even tokens. But basically, you can target a scrap monster in graveyard, special summon it, and then destroy 1 card you control. And that's any card, not just a scrap monster. And if another face-up scrap monster is destroyed by card effect while you control this monster, then, of course, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 scrap monster from your deck, then destroy 1 card on the field. That's right, guys. For the very first time, you have a scrap monster that can destroy. Use the scrap destruction effect on something your opponent controls as well, which makes it amazingly, amazingly good. You can grab other cards and keep milling things and, basically building up your advantage like that. So that's why Orcus players love this, because they can mill a bunch of stuff with Scrap Wyvern and continue to get some of their effects off. Next cards, guys, that we're running in here, they, of course, have to go to the Scrap Dragons themselves. So first thing starting off, guys, we've got 3 copies of Scrap Dragon. You don't really need 3. You can only run 2 if you want. Doesn't matter. But then also 3 copies of Scrap Twin Dragon. Both of these guys are some of the best cards that you can have in your deck at any given point in time, because actually the Scrap Twin Dragons are better than your Scrap Dragons. Your Scrap Dragons, generic level 8 synchro, pop 1, or what do you call it? You pop 1 on your field to pop 1 on your opponent field. So pretty self-explanatory in that respect. And then the other card, Scrap Twin, is the one you'll be going into the most. Non-destruction removal, pop 1 on your field, and then pop, or send 2 on your opponent's field back to the hand. And then this is kind of just in here just for fun because it's actually super easy to make now that we have Master Rule 5 coming out. Atomic Scrap Dragon. Not really that useful. Send 3 back to your opponent's deck by from their graveyard by popping 1 card you control as well. They have an extra effect that a lot of people don't really realize, which is that when they're destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, keyword opponent's card effect, this makes them slightly less good than they should be, you can special summon any non-synchro scrap monster from your graveyard. And it also triggers some of the other effects, so that's really, really cool. Next cards we got in the deck, guys. It would not be complete without some other synchro monsters. We've got Stardust Dragon and Colossal Fighter. We'll throw some level 7s in here, but you don't really go for them that often. Things like, so you got like the Stardust and Colossal Fighter are kind of just in here just as like recursion synchros and kind of throwing it back to the 5Ds era a little bit. You got some cool plays and things that you can do with them that really sort of, make it happen. Of course, Yugioh Guardian as well you can also use with the scrap worm and your scrap chimera. So that can come up every now and then, which is really, really cool. And then, of course, guys, it would not be complete unless we had the one and only Black Rose Dragon. Basically pop the whole board, and that's incredibly good for your scraps, guys, because your scraps will pop, and then, you'll get effects and special summons and all sorts of other good stuff. So that's that. Then, of course, wouldn't be a scrap deck without these guys right here. The one and only Beast and Barkion. Got to have these guys in here. This is an Earth deck. This is scraps. And any advantage that you can sort of get against your opponent, these guys will offer you. Set up a good board with these guys, and you're never going to be afraid. And finally, guys, the main combo piece of the deck. You saw the Instant Fusion in there. The Instant Fusion was for this guy, Sea Monster of Theseus. The level 5 tuner, level 5 plus 5 equals 10, can go into a host of different synchro monsters, but the one that I really want to highlight today, guys, of course, is Ultimaya Tzolkin. Brand new to the scene, guys. He is back, and thanks to Master Rule 5, he is better than ever. Super, super excited to have Tzolkin back in the game, and I couldn't be happier about it because you can use him to special summon all different types of monsters you wouldn't be able to get in this deck otherwise. Things like Crystal Wing and Clear Wing, and or you can have a little bit of fun. Like for instance, like with this guy here, Infernity Doom Dragon. You can special summon this guy if you got no cards in your hand and still pop some other stuff. You set a lot of your spells and traps and scraps, so it becomes a really, really cool thing, and you can figure out lots of fun plays to make. That are not really that competitive, but you're still gonna have a good time otherwise. But guys, that's gonna about do it for my updated scrap deck profile. I'm sorry the profile and video went a little bit long, but I really, really wanted to go through all of the cool new things that you can do in this deck. If you guys did enjoy this deck profile, please give it a like, share the video, comment, and subscribe, and keep it stuck to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel for more awesome content and profiles just like this. Thanks so much for watching, and this has been the Merman Master signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.